Hey everyone, I'm extremely excited to talk to our next guest. This is Andrew McLean. He has 25 years in the entrepreneurial space as well as investment space. I mean, he has a ton of experience in all sorts of various things. I'm most excited because he's the creator, host, and executive producer of something called The Eco-Capitalist. It's the first green business TV series which aired on CNBC. It was both shown globally, was filmed on 7 continents. All of these things, really an amazing, cool experience for him and what he's built here. He's also the executive producer of the first climate change documentary, permitted access to U.S. researchers in Antarctica. We're going to find out about these things. And really what we're here for is that he's involved with this company, Invest.Green. I mean, again, there's so much to what he's done, his history. Want to talk about Invest.Green, want to talk about his passion and his mission. I'm excited to talk to him today. Andrew, how are you?
I'm great, Peter. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you. I mean, we can go through your history forever. I mean, I could have gone with that. This bio is like, it's longer than probably anything else out there that I've seen, which means that you have so much experience in this space. But can you tell people today, what is Invest.Green? And then we can go back into your story.
Sure. Well, I think that, first of all, my bio is secondary to the team members who we have at Invest.Green. I consider myself to be, in terms of the green investment sector, the rookie of our team. And we've also got a number of people from, the very pinnacle of mainstream finance who are part of Invest.Green as well. So basically what Invest.Green has done is assembled a team of experts in the space who have deep knowledge of the sustainable investing, institutional grade knowledge, and we've brought in members of the mainstream investment community at the highest possible level. And our mission is to provide, a place that you can go to as a retail investor, learn, and perhaps have opportunities made available to you. But that's basically, what we're doing. Everybody who's involved in this has had, we've all had repeated success in either entrepreneurially or in corporate America, in the C-suites of some of the largest companies. So we're all doing this because we're passionate about it. And we think that it's never been more important to engage and inform retail investors so they can be part of this.
For those who are listening to this, retail, we don't always use that term, retail investor. So retail investors typically, just so people know, are, pretty much people like you and me, people who are high net worth individuals, people who are passionate about something, who want to put our income to good use, want to make good, smart investments, want to find good opportunities and access to these type of things. And we're usually not those people at the institutional level who are kind of working at a huge level, just like the hardworking physician like you and me, who are trying to find good opportunities. And sometimes these opportunities aren't always available, right? I mean, we don't even have access. And so you're actually one of the few that I know of personally that allows, again, physicians, high net worth individuals to get access to some of these deals, because these are usually done at scale in a different place. And you kind of mentioned your mission beyond that, but like, what gets you so excited about, I guess, the space to begin with? I mean, I'd love to hear more about like what gets you more excited about the future of sustainable energy. What are the parts that you focus on specifically there? I mean, what gets you up in the morning?
Yeah, great point, Peter, about retail investors. And of course, that's sort of the nomenclature that we use when you're in the institutional space. But to your point, that's probably most salient. These types of investment opportunities and the team that we have, are the knowledge is never usually available to retail investors, right? Or to accredited investors, to physicians who are looking for an opportunity to deploy that portion of their investment portfolio that is suitable for venture capital in a green or sustainable fashion. Usually the opportunities are limited, or that by the time you can participate, the company's already gone public, or it's an open AI situation where they're turning down $100 billion, right? And there's no one can get in. It's a closed opportunity, right? So I think that's certainly something that is unique to Invest.Green. And that if you go to our site, it's a democratized access to these investments. That's what we're doing. And I think, but if you look at the amount of capital that's available that the physicians, accredited retail investors have at their disposal, it's greater than the money that is being, sourced for deals from traditional institutions and VCs and things of this nature. And I think that we need to connect with that audience because they're interested and they deserve quality, right? They deserve quality, especially somebody who's worked so hard to be a physician, right? And is got that business, all that education. I think those are people who will appreciate the sort of level of detail and knowledge that we can share with them. And so that's one reason we're very excited about talking to you and your community. But what is happening right now, the biggest opportunity by far in this sector since the inception of sustainable or green investing is, without any doubt, the rise of the need for electricity for data centers. And those data centers, have two sort of tasks. The billions and billions of dollars are being assigned to this, but basically AI is going to require massive amounts of data centers, massive electricity, crypto as well. So you've got two of these explosive trends, right, in the investment sector, that the key to their success is energy, and specifically renewable energy. And right now, according to McKinsey, and this is a study that just recently came out, in order to satisfy the demand for AI, the data center power demand over the next 10 years, the US needs to double the amount of electricity that is produced, right? So that is most likely capitalizing on that, looking at that as the picks and shovels, if you will, of the AI gold rush. Energy is, we believe, the biggest investment opportunity, certainly of a generation, if not, maybe even historically much longer period of time than that. So, and what also is kind of interesting, a lot of people are, is this administration dependent and Green New Deal and whatnot? We have never been involved in any sort of investment that required government subsidy, because that's something that's fickle. The vagaries of that kind of funding are obviously very tangible, and everybody can understand that. But if you look at the current administration, the president has said that these data centers are the top priority for the United States, and they should each have their own independent source of energy. So this is a big tent thing. This is not for people who are of any particular party. It's are you interested in making money? And by far, renewable energy solutions for data centers and to power AI and crypto are absolutely huge opportunities. So that's where we're focused. And what we're focused on is sourcing quality deals at a stage where the valuation is still reasonable. And we're going to make those accessible to retail investors as a component of the investment. Any investment that we are involved in will have institutional investors participating. But the difference with us and what we're attempting to accomplish, particularly talking to your community and retail accredited investors, is to give them access on the same terms as institutional investors for those opportunities. So that's what I think. I'm so excited about this, Peter. I can barely sleep. It's such it's just mind-boggling, the size of the opportunity. It's recession-proof. It's just every day the demand gets bigger. So it's very, very exciting.
I have to say, first of all, I'm pretty new to this whole space in this new area. Obviously, I've heard about the crazy amounts of energy that we need to power up all the new things that we're trying to build. And obviously, energy really changes the way the economy runs, the way it works. And I know there's been so much talk about that politically and everything that's going on. Just so I can understand better, again, because I'm kind of new to the space, like, what kind of companies are you talking about here? Like, what kind of new technology? Because I hear about, obviously, solar, I hear about wind, I hear about things like that. Like, what kind of companies are you investing in, and what kind of new technologies? Just to give me some idea of what it might look like.
Well, I think the clean energy is sort of the watchword, right? Clean energy, right? And clean energy can take forms that go beyond solar and wind. And, there's a host of different technologies out there relating to nuclear power, right? Mm-hmm. And in fact, if you go to our website, I did my own little interview with the former Secretary of Energy, Spencer Abraham, who is ranked the #1 expert on nuclear power, in the United States. That's the kind of access we have, and we discussed that. So, and Sam Altman of OpenAI has recently backed a company that went public. There's 2 nuclear technology companies that have recently gone public, and both have greater than $5 billion market capitalizations with no revenue. They're just developing potential solutions. So that's an area that I think we are definitely going to be looking at, as well as a data center creates a lot of heat, right? And so there's a need for cooling. There's a need for, can you recycle that heat into electricity, things of that nature. So I think there's a whole host of different ways to deliver power, and a lot of capital is going into a variety of different solutions. I mean, there's a company that has a way to turn the steel infrastructure for building a data center into a thermal battery where you can then draw on that electricity, recycling the electricity, using it twice. So there are a host of different technologies. We're definitely interested in not just what people might think as traditional wind and solar. It's interesting though, you talk about wind, and you go into the fracking Permian Basin and there are windmills everywhere because the grid is so unstable in Texas that you need independent sources of power to drive even fossil fuel production. So I think there are a variety of different potential technologies. Our team is global. We're working with access to a host of different solutions, but I think it's going to be something that is sustainable and will be deployed, by data centers. But, also there's another aspect too about Invest.Green I haven't mentioned, which is that we have corporations. So on the one hand, we're, investors can come to us and learn information, but we also have corporate partners who are working with us because of our number one in the world expertise, research expertise, for technologies that they can deploy. And so the household name partner that we have, our founding corporate partner, which I think legitimates the idea of Invest.Green as a credible source of information, is Toyota. And Toyota is the world's largest automaker, and they also happen to have the world's largest data center. And they are expanding because Toyota wants to get really involved in AI and the whole sort of internet IoT and having the whole auto infotainment system become much more than it currently is. So we are in a position not only to source different technologies, but to have huge customers for those applications. We're not just sort of a group that's looking to find investors and then leave these companies. We're looking for technologies that our partners, our corporations that we work with, as well as investors, can get interest in, because we want to, hit the ground running with whatever we're doing and have, customers for it. Because at the end of the day, revenue drives valuation, right? And so we're looking for sustainable technologies, but we have the great and unique opportunity to deploy those technologies with huge corporate partners, from day one. So it's kind of a holistic opportunity for any technologist. It'll be a dream to work with Invest.Green.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Just want to ask you a quick question. Are you ready to take your medical career beyond the traditional boundaries of medicine and amplify your impact? Well, I want to tell you about the Leverage and Growth Accelerator community. Just so you know, we created this exclusive community just for physicians like you who want to expand their identities without giving up their doctor identities. It's an add-on, it's not a replacement. When we hosted our first Leverage and Growth Summit, I know many of you have been part of that, we realized that so many doctors were inspired by the what and why of entrepreneurship, but needed help with the how and when. And that's why we created this community called the Leverage and Growth Accelerator to help doctors learn how to start, grow, or scale a thriving business and connect with like-minded individuals who also want to make a positive contribution to the world. Within this community, you can experience a life of greater fulfillment. It's really a powerful antidote to burnout, where you can leverage your medical degree for new opportunities and take command of your time and schedule so you can invest in your family's future while enjoying today. In the Leverage and Growth Accelerator, you're gonna have access to educational materials, you're gonna have insights from expert speakers, small group coaching, and most importantly, you're gonna have community support to help you realize your untapped potential in 2024 and beyond. And we're so confident in the transformative power of this members-only community that we're offering the first 30 days for free. If you're interested, I want you to take advantage of this. This window of opportunity is not gonna last forever. So go now to lgacommunity.com. Again, that's lgacommunity.com. If you're ready to take your medical career to the next level and make a profound impact in the world and do it together with other like-minded people, it's time to join us. We can't wait to see you inside. I mean, I know the space is obviously growing. It's the future of sustainable energy. With that, I'm sure there are tons of companies, businesses that are sprouting up to try to serve this need, like you mentioned, in different areas. How do you decide who to partner with? How do you decide who is a good investment? How do you decide who to put your hard-earned money with at the end of the day? Because again, there's so many different companies and businesses out there. I'd love to know a little bit about how you think about this and make that decision.
Well, I think first and foremost, what I was just touching on, great question, by the way. It seems like every day, as you can imagine, being relatively high profile in this sector, you can imagine the number of inquiries we receive on a regular basis, many of whom, shall we say, have dubious merit or limited potential. I think that might be a generous description. So what we have done, this foundation of knowledge that we have to conduct research, goes back 32, 33 years now, right? First and foremost, we have a lot of knowledge, and then we have a lot of access. So people are coming to us with quality opportunities. So basically, I think we are already aware of the solutions that we're interested in. We have deep contacts in whatever sector it might be. As I mentioned, nuclear, not to name drop, but I mean, the Secretary of Energy, is somebody that we have access to, not just him, several secretaries of energy, in fact. So a part of what we are doing is utilizing that knowledge base and screening opportunities. We have a lot of deal flow, which is another positive. But going back to the idea of having a corporate partner like a Toyota, we can go to them. Again, I'm a firm believer in revenue and customers more than anything else, right? And despite the fact that some of these public companies have huge valuations with no revenue, very reminiscent of the dot-com, not to date myself, but the dot-com bubble. So we are looking for technologies that, from our existing database of contacts, we don't need really new contacts to source more opportunities. And then we want to take them and talk to our partners, corporate partners, and say, is this something you could see yourself using? I mean, imagine, Peter, the value of that. If you're an early stage company, you're not going to have access to the sort of C-suites that our team does, right? I mean, Tareem Campton created Microsoft's multi-billion-dollar sustainable investment portfolio. I don't think there's a much bigger data center user than Microsoft, right? So, we have access to find potential customers. So we'll take a technology, a solution, a company, and then we'll go see how viable it is. And that's something that, the value of being able to do that is what a company might raise tens of millions to, hire business development people and so forth, and not have that sort of access. So our access is the key to determining whether these opportunities are viable. And then we'll try and find a customer for them if they're not already, having many customers. So that's sort of how we look at doing it. Access, information, knowledge equals opportunity.
First of all, thank you for sharing that. Our community in particular, as physicians and hardworking individuals, we create our income, and we're usually looking for other opportunities for diversification, as hedges, for additional streams of income. That's what we're all about in this community. And we've talked a lot about diversifying into multiple different asset classes. So, apartment buildings, different types of businesses, some commodities, some gold, all these different things that we talk about. And energy is actually something we've been talking a little bit about over the last few years. Like, what's the overall characteristic, I'd say, of the type of returns that someone might get if they're investing in this energy space, I guess, in kind of what you're doing, so that people can understand what that does for them? Is that a stream of income? Is it more like, they wait for a big return at the end of the day after 5-10 years? Like, what are people looking for when they typically come to you?
Fantastic question. We're happy for anyone to come and register and learn. And if you don't want to make an investment, we don't, that's great. We would love you to be educated and make your own decisions. And stimulating general interest in this sector is very important to us. So if we can educate you and get you excited, and maybe you decide to buy a stock that has nothing to do with us in a large public company because you've learned something, hey, that's great. We're happy to do that. But in terms of potential investments, when I mention opportunities, in addition to knowledge that Invest.Green provides, I would say, first of all, as I'm sure you're well aware, you're a very sophisticated, successful investor physician. And I'm sure you know that diversification is key to your, long-term portfolio success. So I would say, the rule of thumb that I've always gone by, and I think many financial advisors would go by, is that you should probably maybe allocate no more than 10% of your portfolio to venture capital type of investments. And some people shouldn't invest at all in venture capital. Maybe they would prefer to put all of it into a multifamily real estate deal or a no-load index fund or what have you. And that's fine. But lots of people want to get involved and stimulate this sector in particular with their capital. So let's say you've got a portion of your portfolio and you want to allocate it to sustainably driven venture capital opportunities. Now, what typically will transpire is, first of all, those opportunities are not going to be available to you unless you're a investor with $5 million or more, right? Or you're an institution. So it's very hard to find the sort of value unless the valuation has gone crazy. Like when anytime a company goes public, the valuation has been driven up so far. It's the initial investors who have the 100x return or the whatever X return, not the retail investors. Or you put money into a fund as a limited partner, right? And again, that usually requires considerable money. Even if you're wealthy, it might be more than you'd be, comfortable investing. But when you put money into a fund, typically what's going to happen, a venture capital fund, is you're going to wait a number of years until there's the potential for an exit. And so, it can be a very illiquid sort of way to invest your money, right? And with the potential for, a staggering home run return, right? That's why people invest largely in venture capital. And then there'll be some misses. So really the only thing you can do as an investor considering making venture capital investments is look at who you're investing with. Who are these people? What is their track record, right? So once you've decided that this is a viable group who you'd like to be part of, how do you get involved? What are the opportunities? And is there a chance for liquidity? And so what we've decided to do, because we've done funds before, and those funds typically are a 7-year duration, and your capital is tied up and the liquidity can be somewhat limited because these are private funds I'm talking about. So what we have decided to do, based upon the just immense interest in the sector and the just crazy rabid interest on the part of the markets for these types of companies, is we are working on deals that are going to be able to go public in the very near term, right? So we're looking for opportunities where when we get involved, basically within 12 to 24 months, that entity will become a public company and provide liquidity to the investors. So the way to look at what we have to offer, if you're a accredited investor, is we have a potential route to institutional quality opportunities that have a short-term horizon to go public and in this white-hot sector. I have investments I've made, I think, I was just talking about one the other day that I made in 1998. I still haven't received liquidity from that, right? So I'm very cognizant of the fact that liquidity is king. And I think right now there's a real tremendous opportunity to capitalize on the massive demand and interest by having public vehicles. So that is what we're working towards. If you were to get involved with us, there would be opportunities to participate in pre-IPO companies' investments at the same or terms as institutional investors, which have a clear and defined strategy for, getting into the public markets as our near-term objective. So.
What do you think the big risks in this whole space are? We like to talk a lot about that. And so what are the things that may be on the opposite side of, getting you up in the morning? What keeps you up at night? And then what are some things that I guess smart, savvy investors, by the way, I'm still learning myself. What are some things that some smart, savvy investors should ask about, or in terms of risks should look at before making these type of investment decisions?
Well, I think first and foremost, any venture capital investment you shouldn't make unless you're prepared to lose that capital, period. Anyone who comes to you and says, this is a sure thing, you're investing in venture capital, it's going to happen 1,000%, turn the other way. So venture capital is by definition something that has a risk attachment to it. Therefore, you should only put a portion of your portfolio that you're comfortable losing, or that you at least are not reliant on, into any kind of, not just us, but any kind of venture opportunity or thing. It's not like buying an apartment building or putting money into an index fund or whatnot. So there's always an element of risk, and it should be your risk capital that you're deploying for these kinds of opportunities. But so what keeps me up at night? Frankly, and, we're agnostic. I mentioned Spencer Abraham. He is, a Republican who was the Secretary of Energy under George W. Bush. But when the whole election occurred in this most recent cycle, I thought, how is this going to impact our space, right? Because you've had an administration that has been so talking about it constantly. And to my great surprise, the new administration has basically magnified the opportunity, particularly with the energy, right? So it was just unexpected, would be an understatement. And now we have just such positive energy, no pun intended, and momentum, if you will, from the current administration. And ironically, like you take the Secretary of Energy now, who's a oil and gas person, and, talks about how it's important to have, more energy coming from oil. Well, there were 9,000 wells approved in 2021 to be drilled that have yet to be drilled in the United States, right? There's no shortage of oil or oil production, right? But that's not going to resolve the need for electricity, right? So what's happening is, in a sort of happy set of circumstances, this incredible interest in AI on the part of the current administration and just about everybody else, a byproduct of that is going to be incredible advances in renewable energy, right? And who can benefit from that? Well, obviously investors in that space. So I think that was something that did keep me up at night and did for a little while until things unfolded. And then, what else could potentially happen? Well, how are these, relationships going to be between different countries and tariffs and things like that? But what I've decided to do is just do what we can, control what I can do, right? I think it's very important to just focus on achieving success within things you can control, right? So, that's what we're doing. And it just, it seems like we're in a very favorable environment right now. So we'll see. But I mean, every day there seems to be a new announcement. And like now there's going to be a crypto reserve. Well, crypto, my goodness, up here in the Northwest, there's crypto everywhere because the hydropower is so inexpensive. But, it's not going to be that way forever. So it seems to me that opportunity is everywhere. And maybe the only negative is there's too much opportunity. So we have to really be focused on selecting the very best investments to be a part of. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I mean, it gives us a lot of insight into what the space looks like. I think a lot of people, especially in our community, have talked about getting involved in green, sustainable energy. I think people are really obviously excited about that in our space and understand the need for it. But always the problem and the challenge has been, what does that mean? Like, how do I actually get into the space? And what I love about what you're doing is, when you mean democratizing, you're just giving access to I believe regular folks like us who perhaps have some capital to invest in this area or have some interest, and it gives us the opportunity to be able to do that. I think that's really exciting. What I'd love to hear is from you personally, like what else are you interested in personally outside of this that you're passionate about that I guess excites you from day to day?
I love to work, and I think you're fortunate in life if the old cliched expression, it's not a job or it's not work if you enjoy what you're doing. So to me, getting up early, I'm an early riser. I don't know about you, but I'm a very early riser. 5 o'clock is probably.
Almost all doctors are, whether they want, by the way, just so you know.
So you're used to that, but I like to get up and get going immediately. It's very important. I'm very wellness centric. My whole lifestyle was built around wellness. And I also like to give back to those who, need it in whatever way I can. And just tangibly, my whole sort of philosophy in life is to treat people how you would like to be treated, and show, respect to everyone and everybody's, whatever they're doing. You don't have to be wealthy to deserve respect and to be treated with dignity. And just the fact that I happen to have ended up in a business where money is the focal point, and we're talking about investing, passive investment, and making money. But, I'm very well aware that's not all there is to life, but making that money and then using it in a way to give you and your family a quality of life, but also to give back to the community and to just try and, contribute something, right? As opposed to just going out to make as much money as possible with no other end goal in sight, So, I mean, to me, that's important. I like to just be very active, and, I'm pretty much a nonstop. Once I get up, I can't wait to go to work, but I also can't wait to interact with people and learn about what they're doing. And I love talking to people and just learning what their story is. And what we're doing here, especially with renewables, in my opinion, it is going to make an impact down the road, when we're no longer here, right? And to me, that's important. And I know that even if people don't have a clear understanding of it, even if they're not investors, I know there are tangible outcomes for the future that this kind of investment is going to create. And that feels really, really good to me. But I feel very fortunate that I am doing something. I just love it. And I love the people I get to collaborate with. And oftentimes I have to just pinch myself to believe that these are the people who are, working with me. I consider myself to be very, very lucky.
That's awesome. I mean, I know that some people are going to hear this and they're going to want to connect with you in some way. They want to get educated on this space. And I know you offer a lot of that as well. Where's a great place for people to connect with you and your mission and what you're doing through Invest.Green?
First of all, Invest.Green is the website. So not investgreen.com, but Invest.Green. .green is a top level domain. And so I've kind of been involved with them trying to get that adopted for years. But Invest.Green is our site. And basically, like, especially for your community, who, we're so privileged to, be able to chat to you and through, your podcast, talk to them. We're going to do a webinar. So if there's an interest in this for the PIMD, you can just go to Invest.Green, register, and we'll have our whole team. Y'all get the opportunity to interact with the former chief investment officer of Microsoft, the former chief financial officer of Fidelity Investments, the former president of Robinhood Financial. They're all going to be there discussing, and of course, Matthew Kiernan, who's written books about this space. So we're going to do a webinar for your audience, and that's a great way to learn and to meet all of the people I've mentioned, ask them questions, and decide if this is something that you want to be a part of. And again, I think it's important to note that although there are opportunities, we're not here to sell you an opportunity. We're here to have you join the movement, learn, and decide however it is that you want to participate. It doesn't have to be with us, but we'd love to be a trusted source of information for you.
That's awesome. People should definitely check it out. There's a lot coming down the road here. Again, I appreciate how in the time that I've worked and interacted with Invest.Green, what I appreciate about you guys is your focus and emphasis on the mission and also on education first. I think that's what we're about, and that's why we align so well. So I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. You're an inspiration in so many ways, and thank you for the time. Again, I really appreciate it, and hopefully we talk again soon.
Absolutely, Peter. And it's been my privilege to be here with you, and likewise, what you've done to inspiring entrepreneurially and education-wise, I think it's fantastic.
Enjoy the show? Let me know by dropping a review in the podcast app you're listening to us in. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe. Join thousands of physicians who are also on this journey to creating their ideal lives through multiple streams of income. Learn more at our website, passiveincomemd.com. Thanks again for allowing me to be a part of your journey. See you next time.